Hey guys, Project-Zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and this is another movie review. So I'm actually recording this the day after my Peter Pan 1953 animated movie review. Um, but yeah, so I was just too tired yesterday. But with all of that said, let's just get into this one because I have a lot to say, and this is a movie that is really, really special to me. Quick summary: Peter Pan as a whole is a story and a character that relates a lot to me and that is very special to me as well. And it's also very special to my parents as well. Both my mom and, well, mostly my mom, and my stepdad also used to like the stories. Um, but yeah, I'm very, very, very excited for Peter Pan and Wendy, the live action Disney remake of Disney's 1953 animated movie. I know a lot of people aren't, and I have my own concerns and worries with it that I will address in the movie review that I'm going to be doing for it anyway. But it's going to be coming out pretty soon. Today's the 19th, and I'm so excited for this movie. Even my mom is super, super excited to watch that new movie. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be watching it, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. So, as I said in the 1953 movie review, for me, Peter Pan from 2003, which is the movie I'm reviewing today, it is the best Peter Pan adaptation, in my opinion. Um, I know that lots of people love Hook, and Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors, and he's fantastic as a grown-up Peter in it. But I don't know. There's just something so special about the live action 2003 movie, and it's just something that is so gravitating. So let's just go straight into that. A lot of people are concerned that the new one that Disney's remaking, it looks way too gritty and realistic. A lot of people have actually been joking like, so when's Jack Sparrow gonna show up um, in the Peter Pan movie? Because it looks like it's almost a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Um, so honestly, I can kind of see that as well, but still. So we can definitely see that they are going for a more gritty, realistic tone with the new movie, but it's Peter Pan. They have to have fun with Peter Pan. Like, there's no way that they're not gonna make this movie be fun, even though the color palette's not super colorful. I don't personally think it needs to be super colorful. And but that's the thing. So it looks like it's gonna be gritty, but we can assume there's gonna be some good fun stuff. The issue is how much of that balance is there gonna be. And the live action movie from 2003 has a perfect balance between grittiness and charming and fun. Keep in mind that the live action 2003 Peter Pan movie is not made by Disney, it is made by Universal. So it's different adaptation, but it's very close to how it like the 1953 movie. Honestly, like you could even assume like that, like you would be okay thinking that that was Disney doing a remake of the 1953 movie because it's very similar, but they expand on so much stuff. Um, but yeah, but it's Universal. And yeah, what Universal did with this Peter Pan movie is they really balanced out the the grittiness, the charm, the fun, and you can see that with the performances. You can see that with the atmosphere, with the music. You can even see that with the color palette. Now, the color palette, I don't know if it's because of the Blu-ray that I have because I watched it on that. I don't know if they changed the color palette for it, but I do remember the movie still being pretty saturated. But yeah, the movie is super saturated. I do like saturation a lot, but like it's super saturated. So it does definitely give you a wonder and dreamlike feel as you're watching it, but it also makes it feel a little artificial in some ways. But given the context of the story itself being like a wonder and fantasy kind of thing, it works. So like you can kind of push aside the saturation that they went with, because it just works for this story. But it is very strong, so a lot of people might not like that. So the saturation in the color palette is very strong. So this one has super saturation, and then the new one has almost no saturation. So it's kind of one or the other. But what I'm trying to say is like yes, this 2003 movie has a lot of saturation. For me, it's fine. I can accept that, and I like that because it fits the tone, especially because not the entire movie is super bright. They also use that saturation to work with the more gritty and serious nature of the story, and some of the more heartfelt stuff too. So the saturation works in all the ways for the most part. Again, like there's some moments where it's like, yeah, that's super saturated. Like it works best in Neverland when they're in England or London, sorry. It does seem a little bit like, yeah, that's a little too colorful for not Neverland, you know. But in Neverland, it works perfectly. So yeah, again, the saturation, the color palette in this movie is fantastic, and it's just done really well. And I kind of want to go into like how they handled the story elements of like the cheesy and fun adventure with the grittiness, because they also handled that really well. There was actually some things, you know, I haven't seen the movie in a few years, probably like 3 or 4, but and I always picked up on one thing, but when I saw it this time, I'm like, oh crap, I really understand this now. But I'll get to that later. So yeah, so even the story itself, they balance out the adventure element so well with the fun element, with the gritty element. A big example like is Captain Hook. Captain Hook, like you can tell, like he is menacing, and this is something that this movie improves over the 1953 Disney animated one, where he was more of a comedic villain. He was still fun. Again, watch my review on that. The link is in the description below. Like he was still fun, but you know he was missing something. And sorry, I just got home from the theater, so and I just ate a lot. So I just watched John Wick 4. I'm not gonna be doing a review on that, but it was fun. So mini review instead of a review. It was a fun movie. Yeah. So in terms of Captain Hook, they handled him really well in this movie because he still has that element from the 1953 movie where he's goofy at some times, but not over the top goofy, like just a natural goofy. But then they also go into the more realistic nature of Captain Hook and how crazy he can be. So they did a fantastic job. And like growing up, I never really realized like Captain Hook was Wendy's dad. I know that traditionally they're the same one across most adaptations of the story, which sucks that the new one isn't gonna do that. I am a little bit disappointed about it, even though I never really noticed or cared about it. It's still nice that all of these different adaptations kind of kept that tradition going. I know it's not in every adaptation, so it's not exclusive to this new Disney one, but it would have been nice if they kept that tradition as well. Um, so yeah, like I never really realized until this time where I'm like, okay, that particular facial expression does look like Wendy's dad. But then most of the movie, I'm still like, is he really Wendy's dad? Because he does such a great job, like acting like Captain Hook and Wendy's dad. You can see how good of an actor he can actually be. Um, but yeah, so I think that they handled him really serious, really realistic, but they still kept some good elements in there about like his goofy nature. One thing that I also liked that they fixed from the 1953 movie is the big exposition dump about his hook. That is still in this movie, but they do it a lot more natural. It's still like half of that conversation feels natural, and then a little bit feels, or like half of it does feel a little forced. Like, okay, I kind of see you're leaving this here to be exposition, but at least you're making it be fit in with other exposition that at least flows naturally. So it's not as like in your face as the 1953 one. So it worked out pretty well. I remember watching it in theaters, and I was actually surprised that they actually show us Hook with his stump. just because it's a family kids movie, so it was like, and in 2003, so I was just like, oh, that's cool. I'm actually glad that they showed that, because I always wondered like how Hook would work with the hook element of his arm. So, and they actually show us like him putting on a strap, and I thought that that was really really cool, honestly. Um, which I think is in a way like pretty good representation, like showing how people can work with the things that the disabilities that they could have. So I thought that that was really really cool to show. Um, and they weren't afraid of that either. One thing though is I don't think he smoked in this movie. I just realized that. And they, yeah, I guess it's not too much of a big deal, but it would have been cool if he did. There was a scene though where Smee did offer Wendy some cigars, so we do know he does smoke, but I don't think we ever saw him smoking. I could be wrong. I'm just probably not remembering it, but yeah. So they fixed that. They um, they fixed some of the things from the Native American side of things. Still not the best representation, but at least it's not like it was in the original movie. And thankfully, this one does not have the songs in general. Like, cause if you guys see my review for that movie, the just the songs, like the musical nature of the original Disney movie, I didn't really care so much for those songs, even when I was really little, like maybe other one or two. So I didn't feel like they were needed anyway in the original movie, and I'm glad that in this movie there was no musicals or sing along songs. Um, yeah, so one big aspect as well is Peter's hideout. I'm glad that they kept it mostly the same, as in like it's inside a tree and you see them like going in through like different tunnels. uh, I just wish that we got to see that fantasy element about it. Like in that first movie, in the Disney animated movie, there's a scene where they're walking under and there's like water that's literally like floating. It's not like falling down. You can like see under it. And I wish that they kept that. Even when I was little, I do remember wishing, like, oh, I wish we kept some of the cool little things like that. Um, they also, I think, did a fantastic job. Literally, like you watch the 1953 movie and then you watch this, and it's like those characters come to real life because they look like them, they act like them, but they act so much better in this movie. Like the acting in this movie and the characters themselves, they're not annoying, they're just real. Like they feel like real people. So the writing for how these characters were pretty good, like really really good in this movie. um, except for like a few scenes with, I, it is John, right? The older brother. So the middle one. Not so Wendy's the oldest, the middle one, and then we have the little one. I know it's John and Michael and Wendy, but I always confuse John and Michael. I think John is the older brother, and Michael is the little brother. Um, so yeah, the middle one, the older brother. Some of his lines definitely felt a bit like forced. Like so some of his lines wasn't the best. And it's not the actor's fault. Again, all of the acting I thought was amazing and perfect. My complaint is just the written script that they had him say, because again the lines that they wrote for him to say is just like, I know you guys are trying to make him seem super smart, but that's forced, you know. um and yeah, as I said, I think that the casting was perfect. I really like everyone. I remember being mostly on and off with Tinkerbell. Like some moments, I think that like throughout the movie, I think like, yeah, she's perfect, and then some moments I'm like, I think someone else could have been her. I don't know who though. Um, and that's kind of the same thing I felt when I was little when I first saw it. But then in the end, I'm just like, I guess it doesn't. I guess I don't really care. Like, cause she does a fantastic job as Tinkerbell. Like, I really like that actress as Tinkerbell. It's just, I don't know, some moments like about how she is. I just don't think it screams like Tinkerbell. But then many times it does. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe that. But I'm fine with her as Tinkerbell. Smee is amazing. He's not as funny as he was in the original animated movie, but he's still fun. It's me, it's just me. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Like all the actors did a fantastic job. And I'm leaving all the Peter stuff for last, just like I did with the 1953 movie. Um, Another thing that I wanted to touch on. So I talked about the color palette, the fantasy element. This movie kept that fantasy element so well, and they implemented so much more to this fantasy element. Like we see them actually going to Neverland, and it is super exaggerated, but I love it, and it just gives that sense of fantasy and magic. It's almost as if like, okay, so what happens is as soon as they leave Earth's atmosphere, you literally see like 100 giant planets all like right next to each other. And they're all like super close to Earth. So you're just like, as soon as you leave Earth's atmosphere, instead of seeing like stars and planets like light years away or like hundreds of millions of years miles away, like so far away, they're all like just right there. Like literally, like you can fly to it in like it's the distance to the moon. Like that's how close it all is. Um, so yeah, it's really really exaggerated, but I love it, and it really does make you feel like you're crossing through a large span of space. It's like space has compressed itself so that Peter and the gang can like get to Neverland really really fast because they go there super fast. So it's almost like Peter makes a wormhole, which is amazing, and I love that. It's so cool. Um, and honestly, it kind of also adds to the magic nature of Peter Pan and the story in general. I thought that that was really really good. So yeah, the I forgot what I was saying with that. I'm sorry, but yeah, that itself is really fun. They do play around with that. I love that. One thing that I don't really like that they do, but I'm like, honestly, it's cool. I like I can let that slide. It's funny. Is there is a few moments that it does feel a little cartoonish, and what I mean by that is a few moments in particular. Those moments in particular are when John gets kissed by Tiger Lily, which I'm super upset that Tiger Lily does not have a nose dancing kiss scene with Peter in this movie like she did in the animated movie, because that's just adorable. Um, but yeah, Tiger Lily doesn't really play a factor into any romance with Peter in this movie. But she does have a romance with John. So yeah, one of my complaints is that when she kisses John, his face literally, and I'm not exaggerating, it becomes pink red. And it's not like he's blushing, it's not like the actor is blushing or anything like that. No, I mean like they put a special effect to make his face pink red. So it's super cartoony in that way. And then there's another scene like that, but with Peter. But at least with Peter, it felt more real, given how he starts to glow in general when that happens. So for that, I can let it slide. But the John one, I'm just like, okay, but I love it. I'll let that go. Um, and then he also gets like super strong, like out of nowhere, just because he's like his heart is beating. Like the cute girl just kissed him, and he's just like, okay, I gotta show off now. So it's relatable. Um, but yeah, so even though it's a complaint, I don't mind it. Um, I talked about the Native Americans, how they handled them. I do wish that we had a party with them. And we know that there is a party, but they added some things in that took away from the party, which I'll get to, because it involves a scene that I love so much in this movie. And yeah, I just wish that they kept that. The party scene, but also included that to make it maybe like 10 minutes longer or something. One thing that this movie does absolutely fantastic is that it builds up on the elements of and now I remember what I was trying to say about the stars thing, so I'll get to that in a second. It really builds up on elements that the animated movie didn't really touch on. A lot of it involves Peter, but it also just like the fantasy element and some extended scenes. For example, when the group lands in Neverland for the first time, I love seeing them just hovering on the clouds, and like literally laying down on the clouds. Um, Peter basically tells them to go, just like in the movie, but in the animated movie. But um, in the animated movie, we see John, Michael, and Wendy go away, and then the Lost Boys trying to kill Wendy, um, and all of that. And then later on, we see Peter just coming back because he says he'll deal with Hook. So we never see that interaction of him dealing with Hook. But in this movie, we see all of that, what happened with the Darling kids, and we see what happens with Peter interacting with Hook. It's short, but still. Um, so yeah, they really fleshed out a lot of scenes and really showed us some extended parts of the story, which I thought was done amazing and beautiful and just fantastic. Now, the thing that I had forgot that I just remembered is that this movie really has so much fantasy, so much heart and care and emotion into it. Like I said, like the fantasy thing about like the giant planets all right next to Earth. Then there's the fact that like it seems like Neverland is tied to Peter. Like you kind of don't understand it at first. It's like, why is that the case? But as the movie goes on, you do start to understand it. And basically, like when Peter is away in Neverland, they're just like there, and like everything is frozen. It's like the Neverland is lifeless without Peter. And then as soon as he starts coming, as soon as he comes back into Neverland, everything starts to like winter goes away because it's literally winter and everything is like frozen and dead. Everything just starts to melt and all the ice starts to melt and then the flower starts to grow and the sun starts to shine and it's so beautiful. It's like Peter is a part of Neverland as Neverland is a part of Peter. Also, before I forget this, one other thing that this movie does so well that the original movie didn't is actually show us how much time has passed. I don't think I touched on this in my review for the animated movie, but in the animated movie, it kind of seems like they're gone for literally like a second. Uh, Given the context in the movie, it seems like time stops like completely, and they just show up right when yeah, like they just show up, and then they're like, "Oh, the dog came to us and 5 minutes later we're here and what is going on? Oh crap, is that a flying ship, like a pirate ship in the sky?" So like that's basically how it felt like. So there was like no consequences with the Darling kids being away for so long because we know that they're away for so long. And I don't think I talked about that in that review, but in this movie you see a few shots of them back in Earth, and you see them like being worried. You see how their mom keeps sleeping in their room looking out the window, hoping that they come back. So you can see that time didn't stop, that time is going forward, which is good to see because it shows how much they care, and so much so that when the Darling kids return back to Earth, um, and then their parents are there, they freak out. They show so much emotion. They're like, "We thought we lost you. You've been gone away for so long." Like it was done so well, and it was super emotional. Also, the Lost Boys in the original movie wanted to stay, but they felt like they weren't ready to stay on Earth. So they went with Peter. But in this movie, the Lost Boys decided to go with Peter. Decided to go with the Lost. Wow. The Lost Boys decide to go with the Darling kids to Earth, and they do stay on Earth, and they get adopted by them, by the Darling family. And I thought that that was really beautiful too. Like this movie itself is so beautiful. Even the music, like the main theme of this movie, is so good. It's so beautiful, and not a lot of people talk about that, and I'm the person that does not really care about film scores that much, unless it captivates me like the main score for this movie does. It is so beautiful. And I was actually just watching the trailer the other day for this movie, and I think it's Clocks by Coldplay, which I love Coldplay, starts playing in the movie, in the trailer, sorry. And I'm like, I wonder if that's the first time I heard that song, because I remember listening to it so much because I saw that trailer so much. Um, it might be the first time I heard that song, I'm not sure. But yeah, I thought it was just fantastic, the music. Like, guys, listen to the main theme of this movie. It's so beautiful. It's a sense of fantasy, adventure, and mysticism, and like magic at the same time, and mystery as well. So it's a perfect mixture of all of that. Now, I still want to talk about Peter and some of the scenes. I'm just trying to think what else can I say that I haven't yet. Oh, right. At the end of the animated movie, when Peter takes Hook's ship, he kind of also puts on Hook's robe, and he puts on his hat as well. I really, really wish that in this movie he did that, because he does, but he doesn't do the full outfit, and it's explained why. So basically, in this movie, I'm kind of upset that Hook does die in this movie. Like, the alligator does eat Hook. Also, the alligator, he's present, but he's kind of just there. So I do wish they did a little bit more with him, but at the same time, I think they did a good amount with him. I just wish there was a little bit more. He's not funny. He's like just an actual crocodile. Sorry, not alligator. He's just like an actual giant crocodile. But I do wish that he had a little bit more of a presence there. Um, but yeah, so in the animated movie, Hook survives, and he actually leaves his jacket and hat on the ship, and he runs away from the ship with the crocodile chasing him. So he survives. But in this movie, he dies. The crocodile eats him, and he has his jacket on him, but his hat stays on the ship. So Peter does have his hat on. So at least they did that. I just wish that they had the jacket. Also, the props, the outfits, everything was so well done. Like, I just loved it. Like, his suit, like even Peter's suit, just feels so real. It doesn't, like, it feels like something that somebody like that would actually wear compared to the animated movie. I still love the animated movie's Peter suit, but this Peter suit just feels real and organic. Um, and the fact that it's like made from leaves, and like, I don't know, it's just beautiful. Even the Lost Boys like battered like animal clothes was so well done. Um, Even Tinkerbell's outfit was great. The layer design was great. The Native American suits were cool. Like, literally just the entire sets and the costumes and props was just done so well. I just loved it. You can definitely tell a lot of heart was put on it. Um, but yeah, so that's another thing that this movie does just so good, like so good. Um, and again, I really gotta talk about Peter and a couple other scenes. So I'm just trying to figure out what else I can say about praising this movie that I love so much. Because again, this movie does mean a lot to me. Um, it's just, yeah, it's just a full sail of adventure. And one little complaint is I do wish that the mermaids was a little bit more present. They are there, but they're not as present as they were in the original 1953 movie. Um, and they do an interesting take on the mermaids in this movie, um, which I remember being a little confused about, and I'm still a little confused about, but I understand why they went with the direction that they did go, and I do like the direction and like how they look, because honestly, mermaids could look like that, you know. Um, so like webbed fingers, super pale skin, darker eyes for the light underwater, all of that stuff. So I don't know. I think that they did a fantastic job in how they designed the mermaids. I just wish that they were present a little bit longer because I felt like their scene was super short. Even when I was little, I felt their scene was super short. Um, but yeah, they did flesh out a couple other things, and they also changed a few things here and there. Like for example, there's poison now that's what Hook tries to kill Peter with instead of with a bomb. Um, and yeah, oh man, the Tinkerbell dying scene in this movie is so emotional. But it's done so well. It's done so well. Um, yeah, no, that scene is so beautiful and so powerful at the same time. But yeah, this movie is just fantastic. There's just so much good in this. I just love this movie so much, and I guess the only really thing I can say, I guess now, is how do I feel about how they handled Peter and these extended scenes. They actually went in with some of Peter's actual backstory, like how he ran away when he was little, and Tinkerbell found him in like a park or something like that. I forgot the name of the place, and then they went to Neverland. Um, so like that for me was really cool that they kept that. They again, I as I said in the original animated movie review, I never really fully read the book, even though I've had the book for like literally so many years. I never really read it past like maybe a few pages. Um, I don't even remember how many pages I said in the previous one. I think maybe like 20 pages or something like that. But now I'm thinking maybe it could have been closer to like 100. Um, it's definitely between 20 to 100. I don't think it was 100, but definitely somewhere along there. Um, so yeah, I should really read the book. But I've heard that Peter in the book is a little crazy and wild. So much so that apparently it's really implied. And I'm just looking at the book on my shelf right now. Apparently it's like really implied that if the Lost Boys starts growing up, or the Lost Boys, like something happens to the Lost Boys or something like that, and Peter ends up killing them, and then getting new Lost Boys. So that's really implied in the books from my understanding. And if that is true, they actually imply that in this movie as well. Um, so, for example, in this movie, Wendy, they don't just throw things at Wendy when they first arrive at Neverland. They are literally like shooting arrows trying to kill her. Um, and she does get like hit, but she's safe because it hit something like an acorn that Peter gave her. But um, she gets unconscious, and Peter builds her, tells him to build a house. But when Peter is there trying to figure out like who killed it, who attacked Wendy, whose arrow hit Wendy, um, there's a scene where like I think the one that's dressed like a bear, he's like, "Oh, it's mine, Peter. Strike through," or something like that, and he literally just opens up his like chest, like his shirt, to show his chest, and then he's like, "Go ahead." And Peter's literally about to like, he literally starts moving, and you can see the hesitation in him because he does care about the Lost Boys, but he's like, "Man, now I gotta really do this now." And then he's about to go and stab him in the heart, until Wendy moves, showing that she's still alive. And then he's like, "Okay, yeah, forget that. I'm not killing you." So it is implied that Peter has done something like this before. Um, which, again, if it is like that in the book, I'm really glad that they kept it in this movie, because that, it shows how faithful it is to the book. Now, there is one scene in particular, and okay, actually, right before we get into that one, it's an extended scene. I just wanted to say that the way that they handled Peter, I talked about this in the animated movie as well. In the animated movie, Peter is very ignorant, very egotistical, very self absorbed, um, and very rude in a way. Um, but he has fun and he's caring and, all of that. But in this movie, but you know, one of my complaints ever since I was little is like I wish that he showed more heart, you know, rather than just all of these negative things. In this movie, they actually handle him right. They show how he would be in a realistic way, in my opinion. Yes, he likes to just have fun. Yes, he likes to just play around. Yes, he is rude. Yes, he is you know, very playful, but yes, he is also egotistical in some ways, or narcissistic. But he's also caring. He's also friendly. He's also fun. Also, before I forget, I wish that in this movie we saw him playing the pan flute multiple times, and I really like that we always see it on his outfit. I love that it's always on his outfit. I hope that this new movie does have him playing the pan flute, but we only see him playing the pan flute like one time in detail, and then like I think sometime before that, just really quickly. Um, but yeah, so I wish we saw him playing the pan flute more. But yeah, in terms of how he is handled here, he's you know he is all those things. He's friendly as well. He's caring. Um, but he's also just very laid back. So like the way that they handled him here is a balance because a lot of times he does care and he just wants to, you know, make sure that you're all right as well. But then he's also conflicted with his own stuff too. So they really show how Peter could be in a realistic sense rather than how the animated movie made him just seem super narcissistic and egotistical, but somebody that you know definitely has fun and you can have fun around them in a way, and you know they can be friendly as well, but they don't try to be mean, but they can be bratty. So that's how the animated movie was. This one is, you know, egotistical, narcissistic, but caring, passionate, adventurous, fun, relaxed, laid back. um, you know, so they balance it out so much more, and it's just really cool to see that. And again, Peter in general is a character that I can relate in some ways, in a lot of ways too, as well, actually. Um, so yeah, so it's just a character that means a lot to me, and to see him portrayed in this way in this movie is closer to how I can relate to. So for me, it makes it even more, a lot more special and a lot more creative and fun at the same time. Um, but you know, like I said in that review, the animated movie review, this one was gonna be a little bit longer because of this particular scene. This scene that I'm gonna talk about is one of the extended scenes. Also, the sword fighting, I can't, and the special effects. Right before we get into all of that, the thing I want to talk about, sword fighting in this movie is great. I love it. It was really well choreographed. Yeah, and the flying in this movie, Peter looks realistic when he flies. I just wish we got to see more shots of him just floating up there because the few that we do, it's kind of quick. So I wish they kind of kept it there for a little bit longer. But yeah, I thought that his flying was really, really well done. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it compares with this one that is literally 20 years later. So the new one that's releasing now I'm talking about. But anyway, going back to this 2003 movie and the scene in particular that I want to talk about, when they're having that particular Native American celebration that I talked about, that we cut away from them, Peter and Wendy go to watch a fairy party. And I love that because it's like we get to see more about the fairies. We even find out that there's a fairy council in this movie, and I love that. Um, so like we don't really see them, we just hear about them, and then we see like one escort, which sadly he dies. But it's because of Hook. But yeah, and even like how Hook treats Wendy, like that was also different. That was done really, really well too, in my opinion. And how she wants to be seen as well was also done really, really well, I think. So yeah, they handled Wendy really, really well. But anyway, in that scene, Peter and Wendy go to watch a fairy party, and they're kind of like like the fairies are all dressed up. It's like a formal party. They're slow dancing, all these things, and it's it's at night, and there's this beautiful gigantic full moon, and Peter plays like a gentleman. He plays like he's just having fun with Wendy. It's fine, it's normal, like it's like a date basically. So he like goes forward, and then he like stands up, and then he like bows all the way down, and then like sticks out his hand so that the two of them can dance. And that scene is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. You see the fairies flying around, and they're just like lit up, and you see the music playing, you see the full moon, and then Peter and Wendy like in the middle of the full moon. Like, it's such a beautiful scene. It really is. And I don't know, it's like one of those things, like you have to see this movie for this scene, and it's done so well. And honestly, this scene in particular really shows Peter's character and who he is as a person. And it's honestly one of the most relatable scenes, and I actually kind of got teared up a little bit when I saw that, because, well, in that particular scene, like, Peter probably never met anyone that has moved him like Wendy. And you can tell throughout this entire movie, literally the entire movie, it's not this scene in particular, you could just tell throughout this entire movie, um, that, you know, there is a kind of real romance that could be between them. And there was hints of that, and it is shown a little bit in the animated movie. So, like, enough that you can say, like, yeah, there's hints of that there. But in this movie, no, it's like really clear. Like, they did a fantastic job in showing that. Like, I just love the scene, for example, when they're all about to go to Neverland, and Wendy is like in the window just thinking, looking in her room, and he's like right behind her, and he just gives her like this really caring but sensible kind of like whisper, like kind of like a lover's whisper in a way, about like something amazing and like starting something new together. And I just love the lines, where that line in particular where Peter's like, "Come away with me to Neverland, where you can never, where you'll never have to worry about grown up things ever again." And Wendy is like, "Never is such an awfully long time." Like that line is just so perfect. And then they go to Neverland. But yeah, this scene in particular, it really, and like even throughout the movie, they call each other father and mother, and they do that in the animated movie as well. But in this one, you can feel that essence, and so much so, like, there's even a dinner party where Wendy asks her brother, like, who's your father? And then they're like, "Oh, it's Peter." And because again, they're just being, not, I want to say brainwashed, but they're just being used to it. They're like just forgetting everything from Earth, and they're just being used to Neverland. um so they're like, "Oh yeah, Peter is our father." And then Wendy asks her brother, "Well, who's your mom?" And then they're like, "Well, you're our mom, Wendy." So like, she's like, "Well, you guys are forgetting our parents." So again, this movie actually touches on the psychological and the mental side of things that all of these characters face. And not just, the Darling Kids or Peter or Hook, but even the parents. And it's done so well. But this scene in particular that I'm talking about, the slow dancing as they're flying scene, again, it's so beautiful. Beautiful music, beautiful imagery, and cinematography. Everything with that scene is so beautiful. And it's one of my favorite scenes, like, ever in general. Like, it's so good. And it's also just so simple. Like, it's just something that's so simple, but that's so good. And I have many favorite scenes from many movies. Don't think that that list is small. It's not. I'm just saying it's part of this long list of favorite things from movies. Um, but when they are coming back down, I think Peter asks Wendy, like, "Wendy, this is all make believe, right? Like us, being married and stuff." Um, and then Wendy and him actually have a conversation, like an actual proper, conversation that anyone at any life stage can have. It's kind of like, okay, so where are we going with this kind of thing? And Wendy, and you can actually like see Peter's conflict, because Peter is the essence of like wanting to be a kid and not growing up and not understanding what it actually means to grow up. Um, and he just wants to have fun, and he's scared about knowing what else there could be about other than having fun. Um, and going on adventures as well. But growing up is a part of that. You still have fun, you still go on adventures, but Peter doesn't understand that, and he's scared about it. And when he meets Wendy, his like life changes because he starts feeling different. And this scene in particular, which is exclusive to this movie, I don't know if it's in the book. I hope it's in the book because that better be in the book. Um, but yeah, so this scene in particular, Peter, is questioning her like, and Wendy's like, well, there could be something more. I can't tell you for real, but maybe there is something more than to growing up that we just don't understand. And I think our hearts kind of tell us that. And then Peter starts to literally like fight against her or have an argument, and the actor for Peter is amazing. Like literally he is like Peter Pan. Like that's Peter Pan. Even his voice can be a little annoying, but in a good way, because that's freaking Peter Pan. But yeah, his acting is fantastic. And his eyes like really start to show a lot of emotion. He starts to panic, and you can tell that he's kind of having like a existential crisis within himself, because he's talking with Wendy about these things, but he's trying to be like true to how he is, that he doesn't know that he can still be true to who he is but move forward from this stage and do something else, but being true to who he is. He doesn't know that, and he's too scared to learn that. So he has this conflict within himself, and it's done so well in this movie. Um, and Wendy's like, well, you feel it, Peter. Like, you love. Like, you have love in your heart, and the romantic kind. And Peter actually, he doesn't know how to act. And he's like, love, I never heard of it. And she's like, you have, Peter, and you cannot tell me that you have not. And he tells her, like, the thought of it, even just the thought of it offends me, and like he literally is trying to push that away so much. It's kind of like you love somebody, but like you try not to love that person, and like now you're having that argument within yourself. And but it is part of that this argument between Peter and Wendy, but it's not the only reason. It's literally about life in general and what is a part of life. So it's not just about romance. And the argument itself, really makes that very, very clear, and it's done so well. So like he even tells her like, I taught you how to fight, I taught you how to fly, I taught you how to have fun. We have fun, don't we? So what else do you want? And she's like, well, I don't know, Peter, maybe there is more things to growing up than just all of that, and maybe you feel it too. And like they literally have such an amazing argument, and it's so well written, and it's so relatable. Again, no matter your life stage, no matter how old you are, no matter your experiences, it is so relatable in every way. And it really is something that a lot of people, including myself, can relate to a lot. So yeah, I always noticed and kind of knew what they were talking about even when I was little. But now, after watching it again after a long time and having been through a lot of things, um, I definitely understand a lot more how Peter is, and like where his mindset is, and what Wendy is talking about as well. Because again, it's not just about love. And if you really listen and hear what they're talking about, they make it clear. So, and Peter knows that too. He's not also just talking about love, he's talking about other things too. And um, it's just one of those things that really catches you off guard. And that whole conversation kind of made me teary eyed a bit too. Um, but yeah, it was just done perfectly. And you really see that conflict in him because he does have feelings for Wendy, and he does want to, go with her and see what else is there, but he's scared and he thinks he's not going to be himself. Because he even tells her, so they're going to put me in the school, and then once I graduate, what, they're going to put me in an office, and then what am I going to be doing? So again, he just thinks that, and unfortunately, so many people, even like people older than me, um, and even younger than me, and even my age, it's like just so many people in general just think that that's life, just like Peter does. They don't understand that there's more. And Wendy is trying to tell Peter, well, yeah, you'd be doing those things, but like there's more to it than that. Um, so like that whole argument, like it's so well done. And like you can really see that conflict in Peter because he wants to be with Wendy. He wants to let himself be in this relationship with Wendy, but he's literally trying to like pretend like that's not true. He's trying to lie even to himself. And it's sad because so many people do that. Um and yeah, I felt bad for him, and I definitely understood where he was coming from, and I felt bad for Wendy too, because she's trying to tell him like, hey, we can still be the way that we are, but let's move forward and do all of these things plus more, and those more things we'll learn in time. So he's in that conflict. He wants to go with her, and but he's scared. He's thinking that he's not gonna be Peter Pan, if he goes with Wendy, which is also really interesting when you watch this movie and then you watch Hook after, because then Peter, in the story of Hook, Peter does come back and he does fall even more in love with Wendy's daughter, and he marries Wendy's daughter. So in that movie, like honestly, you can kind of even say like Hook is sort of like could be like a sequel to this movie. It's not in any way a sequel, but I like to watch it as a sequel, just because it touches on this theme so well, and I think that that's why so many people love Hook, because it touches on that whole entire theme, but throughout the entire movie, because it's Peter as an adult and working a job and not having fun, and then he has to learn that in life you have fun, you can go on adventures. It doesn't matter if you work or not, it doesn't matter if you have a family, you can have fun, you can go the places you want to do, go on your adventures, take your family with you, do the things you like. And it's basically him having to learn that again in Hook. So that's why I feel like watching Hook after this movie is a great like sequel, unofficial sequel. So yeah, this scene just focuses on that so much, and you really feel that tension, and you really feel that argument between them, and the conflict in Peter. And I just think it was just so well done. It's so well done, and I think it's one of the best things about this movie, along with the acting. So yeah, this movie was just fantastic. And then even like Peter and Wendy's goodbye, because now all he has is Tink, which is hey, at least he's not alone. But like at the end of the movie, the Lost Boys stay on Earth, and like his bye to Wendy, it's just so sad. Like these actors were so good. Even Wendy was like, well, will I ever see you again? And Peter just looks at her and he's like waving, and he's like just so sad, but then he kind of like fakes it. He's like, yeah, I'll show up to hear your stories. And then I forgot what when he says, and then he's like, yeah, to hear stories about me. And then he just like laughs, smiles, and then just goes. Um, and then like the Wendy, like adult Wendy, says that she never heard of Peter again, uh, which is sad, But maybe he did show up. We don't know. Um, but yeah, no, man, this ending, and it was just so melancholy, like so melancholy. Like they really play with the emotions so well. Um, but I've been talking for an hour on this movie already. Um, I just love this movie so much, and it's a movie and a character that means so much to me, and I can relate to a lot, as I've said in many ways. it's a fun movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's an emotional movie. It's an adventure filled movie. It's so well done. It's literally everything. If just in general, people should just watch this movie, and it's so underrated. Go watch this movie. Please go watch this movie. It's so good. Um, and like if you guys don't like the new one, Peter Pan and Wendy, okay, that's fine. But I'm telling you, this movie is the best adaptation so far. Um, so again, go watch this movie. Let me know what you think about it if you watch it. What are your favorite scenes from it? Um, Again, Peter Pan and Wendy from Disney, the live action movie from Disney, releases on the 28th. Today is the 19th of April. So we've got just a few more days. I'm super excited for this movie. I will be doing a review for this movie. Um, I don't think I'm gonna make it as long as this one. I'm just making this one super long just because I'm very, very passionate about this movie in particular. But we'll see how that movie goes. So, but yeah, guys. Sorry I went on for so long. This is one of my longer movie reviews. Thankfully, these I don't have to edit. So, other than the thumbnail. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys listened to it as a podcast or something like that. Let me know your favorite Peter Pan adaptation. Please follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is going to be in the description below. I haven't been advertising that at all and since I've been making videos on here that much. I think maybe only once or twice, but kind of want to start advertising it more because I have a very, very special big project coming up, and I'm going to be starting to teach that on my Twitter pretty soon, and I'm going to be posting this project on YouTube. So I hope you guys watch that because there's been a lot of passion in this project and it's taken a while and there's been a lot of hurdles to get this project done, but it's basically done now. I'm also going to be reviewing Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That one's also over an hour long. The editing for that isn't going to be the best. I'm just letting you guys know now. That is a video game for those of you that don't know. Just yesterday, actually, Nintendo did announce that the story DLC for Xenoblade 3 is actually releasing next week. So I have to get my review up fast because I've been meaning to put that review up since January. So yes, April 25th is when that is out. I'll be doing a review on that later on, but I really gotta get working on my review for base Xenoblade 3 plus DLC waves 1, 2, and 3. So that's something to be up before the game, before wave 4, which is the story expansion, is released. But yeah, so those are just some teasers of some upcoming projects. So the big secret project, the Xenoblade 3 review, the Peter Pan and Wendy review, and eventually the Xenoblade 3 DLC story expansion review as well. So yeah, I got a couple other things in mind as well. I've got 2 more videos to film right now. They're both unboxings as well, so I'll be uploading those before I upload either of my Peter Pan videos. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I talked for so long and it's already almost 1 a.m. So I hope you guys have a good night, and let me know what you guys think about Peter Pan and what's your favorite one, and have you guys seen this movie, and do you agree that this movie, Peter Pan from 2003, is super underrated and so much more love needs to be given to this movie? Let me know what you think. With all that said, guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.